Hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm waiting for you. And you. And you. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi, baby. Welcome. Thank you. So I'll just give it a few minutes. Just give it a few minutes for a few more people to come online so that we can have this all important conversation. Yes, we're here for our children. We're here as responsible parents for our children. Hi Starinke. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Hi sis. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Just going to give it till 7:05, okay, and then we can start so that we can have more people come online. I'm expecting you. If I have not threatened you, I am sorry. I should have. But thank you for coming online. Hi Fisayo, thank you for joining. Welcome. Hey, thank you for the hearts. Thank you. Okay, and then welcome to everyone who will be watching this later. Thank you for taking the time to join. Thank you for coming online. Thank you for being intentional, because this action is indicative of your willingness to be intentional as a parent, and I applaud that. So thank you and welcome. That's for those watching later. Everybody was yes sis, yes. Packaging is a serious matter. Thank you sis. 7:05 is what I am. Let's do 5 minutes. So hi. Hey you. Hello. I can't see. Busayo, hi. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you. Hi sis. Thank you. So 1 more minute and we will kickstart this so that we can make the most of the time. Fisayo, hi sis. Thank you. We can make the most of the time that we have. Okay, it's 7:05. So I think we should begin. All right, so why intentional parenting? Why am I interested? I think for me, it's I had problems with how I was parented. That's where the interest came from, and I had issues, right? And I told myself even before I was going to start having children that I was going to make an effort to do better, right? To expose myself to information, about, which is talking and sharing what I've known, what I've learned, And in my quest for learning more about families and how family systems work, I found the Institute of Family Engineering and Development, and I've been mentored. I don't know if he knows it or not, but I've been mentored by Prince Fowowe, and taking the Family Systems Engineering course, going through the certification process, which is still ongoing for me. It has been a journey, and I feel compelled, okay, to say something, okay, to do something about what I can do something about, and not just complain and go like, wow, that person is mishandling their child, or wow, if only this person knew better. I am sharing what I know, okay, and that's the purpose. Process of promoting and supporting the physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. So this definition shows us that there's infancy, there's the space in between, and then there's adulthood to consider, which I think is a bit of an issue, right? Because a lot of people don't take into consideration that their children are going to be adults. So they see them as those babies, those helpless babies, and in a short while they see them as toddlers, and they don't take into consideration the final product, which is the adult, which is the goal of the whole experience, right? So the law of time perspective is very interesting to me, and if I relate it to what parenting is, it would be seeing as your child as not taking the longer time into consideration. The person who takes the farthest time into consideration makes better decisions. They make better choices because they're taking the longer time into consideration. So as a parent, you're a visionary, okay? That's as people. As a man, do you see them as a husband, as someone who's responsible for a family? As a woman, do you see them as a wife? Do you see them, usually girls are seen as wives, yeah, but do you see them in that role in society? Do you see them heading a multinational? Do you see them being responsible for the well-being of thousands of people, maybe in a political capacity? Do you see that? If you see that, then you should know that there are things that they need to be equipped with to handle those roles as best as possible. So my question usually is, how far do you see when you look at your child? If you see that far, you will know that you have work to do now. And as a parent, some of the welcome Toyin, welcome, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Toyin. I just described parenting. Because of me, I'm going to do a quick recap, okay? I just described what parenting is as hello mommy, welcome ma, good evening mommy, thank you for joining. Parenting is childbearing process of child. You have to have vision. You can't just limit your expectations to who they are. They're not going to remain young forever. They're not going to remain small and dependent on you forever. There's a window, okay? There's a window that you have where you're the final authority, where whatever you say they take. Your perspective is everything. Your opinion is everything. Once they begin to have external influences, maybe they go to school, they have friends, they have teachers, then they begin to question your, this is how you should solve this math problem, and they say things like, but my teacher said you have started having competition, okay? But you have a window You have to spot the identity of the child, of the seed in your hands. You have to get to know them. Also, you have to sharpen this child. You have to intentionally raise them in a particular direction. You have to shoot that child in a predetermined target. And that goes back to what I said earlier about having a plan, having a vision. Also, you have to ensure that how this child turns out, whatever they do, whatever they become, is a plus to society, is a plus to God if you're a believer, but it's in service to God and humanity. It is important that your child is a plus. Your child does not constitute problems for the rest of society. They don't call your child's name and it soils your family name. You have to take that into consideration. All of that you factor in from when the child raise children who are capable of doing the impossible. We want to raise children like Mark Zuckerberg, who created Facebook. We want to raise children who would be the top 1% of the 1%. I believe that is a goal that we have for our children. We expect them to get an education, to go to school, to be creative, to do something so magical, right? But then cultivate it. As a parent of a child, the younger they are, the better. You cultivate their curiosity, you fan their curiosity, you let go of your ego, you suspend your ego, because your goal is to know the resources, the potential that is in your child, to work on it, to refine it, to package it, to make sure they hone it, to make sure that they understand it, they're able to utilize it for themselves and send them out into the future. In this COVID-19 period, there are some people that are working night skills, but there's some people that have that skill set who are not involved. But there's some people that are involved. Now, who raised those children? Who raised them as children? What was put inside them? What was engineered as part of their upbringing that made them feel responsible enough to step up and do something for somebody that they may never meet? That's a question that I ask myself every now and again. Why? To take that into consideration, there are character attributes that your child needs to have. Work on those now. If your child needs to have integrity, your child needs to have compassion, your child needs to have the capacity to follow through, work on those now. Teach them those now. So I've talked about why I'm involved in this. I've talked about what I think our parenting should be. And now I want to quickly do a recap of have not dealt with themselves, have not healed on their own, and then they bring children to this world and compound the stress that they already have. They compound the stress that the world already has. It will be better if they waited until they were better before, procreating, before complicating things. Because anyone who is a parent will tell you it is a hard, tasking, selfless, consistently sacrificial job. So if you're a single person watching me and you are trying to choose, you're trying to make a choice, you want to be sure that I like to imagine how that young man is being raised intentionally, daily, right? I imagine that he has an itinerary. He has someone who is responsible for every aspect of his life, because they're raising a king, and I'm sure they will never let him forget it. He probably hears it a few times a day. You're a prince, you can't do that, you can't carry yourself like that. You're a prince, you can't talk with food in your mouth. Okay, you're a prince, you can't live. What future have you communicated to your child by how you relate with them? What future have you communicated to them? Hi Sandra, welcome. Hi sis, thank you for coming on. Thank you. So quickly, let's go to the videos I have done prior and quickly do a recap of all of them. So I talked about asking and answering questions. Now, why should we ask questions? Doing, do we acknowledge their presence when they come near us? Do we hold them close and give them a hug and say and answer the, even if what they've said is completely meaningless? Do we give them a sense of warmth by the way we address their questions? It's important, because all of this will contribute to the rapport that we're able to build with our children in future. Remember, we're being intentional, so we understand we're looking at the long term. In an envelope and see emails. You're trying to raise that kind of child, so you have to cultivate their curiosity. So, how do we do this? When they ask us questions, how we respond is important. Also, we answer questions kindly and respectfully to build rapport with our children. It's important that they are comfortable with us. If do you talk with them? Do you negotiate with them rather than back out instructions? Do you say, my friend, will you stand up from there? Or do you say, what should you be doing right now? Do you say, okay, have you tidied your room? Your room is untidy. Or do you say, okay, as a young lady or as a young man, your space should be neat? Do you give your child a sense of identity that is positive by what you do and how you do it? Very significant, very important. Also, we ask questions and answer questions to communicate our availability to our children. If you ask your child a question and they're unwilling to talk, then all you have to do is to be patient and wait. You don't get offended. You don't say, ah, married now, how many children do you have? Your first instinct would be, hello, I knew you 20 years ago. I don't know you now. You may even ignore the message. If you're like me, you may ignore, you may ask something like, how is it your business? Not even a hello, not even a how am I doing. Do you understand? So you have not built a rapport. You have not taken advantage of the time that you've had with your child, and you want to jump into answering and asking questions like, how was your day? So what did you do? Of a younger child, that you and your child are going to be adults at the same time. You're going to be parents, you're going to be wives, you're going to be husbands at the same time. You're going to be much older, yes, but you're going to be equals in certain areas of your lives. So do you want to be able to have a conversation? Do you want to be able to sit together and gist about something? Arrangement. Okay, parenting is a duty, it's a responsibility. It is not an opportunity to subdue and suppress and to boost your own ego, because we have a cultural problem around here. It's as though the more people we are able to put down, the better we feel about ourselves, and that tells me that the parent has some unpacking to do. The parent has some issues to resolve. It's not the child's fault, it's the parent that has issues to resolve. Your best friend's name. If you could do anything, what would it be? If you could go anywhere, where would you go? When was the last time you were truly happy? What excites you? What would you like to do today? What should we do tomorrow? Okay, I've cleared my schedule tomorrow. What should we do? Build a rapport with your child. Okay, and then before you issue those discipline orders, those go to your room, ask them why they did it. It happened to me recently. My son I asked him to brush his teeth before bed, and he came to me, came back to the living room, and here, why are you not brushing your teeth? And he said the light in their room wouldn't come on. It was dark. The young man could not see. But I would have gone off, and he probably would not have had the chance to tell me why he didn't do what I asked him to do the first time. But for that, why? So I was able to calm down and help with the light, and everything was fine. There was no friction. There was no need to make the boy feel bad or upset or whatever. So let's ask why. Let's ask why. And also something else that why does, if you have a younger child, is to provoke their thinking. So a child has done something, has maybe, what can a child do? Thrown something or has done something that he shouldn't have done, and especially if you have a kind of child who by design has shaky self-esteem, you will damage that child, and that child will not be able to speak up in class. You will not ask the teacher. The teacher will say this child doesn't answer questions in class, and he knows the answer. But why? Because you to write a summary. Why I did so and so, why I will not do it again, how I intend to make sure I don't do it again. If your child can write, so there are a lot of twists, there are a lot of tricks that you can, not tricks exactly, but methods of discipline that does not have to come with laying down the law with force or with causing the child pain. So let's explore that. Moving on, being a role model to your child, you have to lead by example. Do as I say, not as I do, is not going to work. In those days, we were good at pretending. I think in my generation, we were good at pretending as though and get a job and leave the house. It shouldn't be so. Being a child should not result in being punished for being a child. So, back to what we were saying, you have to be an example to your child. Your behavior, your comportment is what your child sees. It's easy to say do, but it's easy to be. Children are absorbent. There's the theory of the absorbent mind that tells us that between ages 0 to 3, children would have just and then growing, understanding that what worked for a toddler will not work for a preteen, for instance. You have to talk to them differently, you have to communicate with them differently. Okay, but it's important that you be who you're asking your child to be. You can't hold your child to a higher we shouldn't worry that our children are not listening to us. We should worry that they are watching us. And that if it rings in your mind every now and again, you would know that you have expectations. You have expectations of them, therefore you have such expectations of yourself. You want to teach a child to be organized, be organized. Because sometimes we don't even know these children. Because they see us and they watch us and we do things without even thinking about it. Offhanded comments, prejudices, talking about a certain tribe as somehow, right? We communicate these things and we transfer them to our children. Knowingly or unknowingly, it doesn't even matter whether it is knowingly or it is unknowingly. The truth is we communicate it to them and we tell them it's okay by our actions. Where it is not, don't in the tantrum. Because how you join in the tantrum is by shouting along with the child that is shouting. There's no positive end to that. It's a cycle. And then you now teach it, you shut the child down. And what you have taught the child is the person with the louder voice who is able to shout louder wins. So the next time this child needs to throw a tantrum, they will take it a notch higher. Because the last time, mommy shouted well and I kept quiet. So for them, at that point in time, something catastrophic has happened. So you can't say stop shouting, stop shouting. For somebody who feels that that toy that fell down is the end of the world, it won't work. It won't work. They're not even hearing you. Because once maybe they're eating biscuits and one falls on the floor and they just go and they are wailing and they're upset. For them, it's a real thing. It's an actual disaster. So what do you do as a parent? Meet it with real. So the child is as real as you. Okay, let's trade places now. You're at a function, you're at a party, and you've been hungry for a while. They didn't serve on time, and eventually they say the buffet is open, right? And you go to the buffet table and you curate this plate of jollof rice and the fried rice on the side, and there is a piece of chicken and there's plantains and maybe a bit of salad and some interesting stuff or maybe some coleslaw and all of that on the plate, and then you're about to sit and this thing falls on your dress. Will you be excited? How are you? Thank you for joining. Welcome. Thank you so much. Now, you're trying to talk them down. So you meet it with calm. You don't fight fire with fire. No. At the end of the day, it will burn hotter. So you tell this child, or maybe you burst into a song, or you dance, or you distract them so that they're not focused on that thing anymore. That's how you handle a tantrum. Okay? One of the many ways, right? But that's one good way of handling a tantrum. You can get frustrated, it's okay, but it's not okay to lash out. All right? And if you have an older child who cannot handle their emotions, check yourself. You are their model. You learn to self-regulate and teach them. Teach them. It's okay to pray for our children, right? It's okay to to me and he says, Mommy, I didn't shout. I counted 1 to 5 and I was able to count down. And I give him a thumbs up. I get excited on his behalf. I say, yay! I'm hoping that he's able to sustain it so that when he's older, he's not part of the people that will fight at the bus stop for 100 naira change with the conductor. Or he's not one of the people who will go into a store and because they were not attended too quickly, they will scatter the place. He's able to that's self-regulation. So I'm giving him tools. I am praying that he's able to figure those tools out. Do it back and forth until your child has a good response. Chances that the next time he's exposed to that situation, he will know what to do, he will know what to say. Rather than, no, you don't fight, and you leave it at that. You have not given that child a solution. You have not told the child this is what you should do. So let's explore this. Let's learn how to communicate calm to our children. Let's regulate ourselves so that we can teach our children self-regulation. So moving I am happy that you are my child. I am grateful to God for you. Oh, what would I have done if I was not your mommy? Something like that. Why it communicates it builds their self-esteem. It makes them feel loved. It gives them warm, fuzzy feelings. And who doesn't need those feelings? This world is harsh enough already. It's tough on everybody. But when you remember that, oh, some people are rooting for me at home. Some people are anything wrong. Just a random come. Wow, what an amazing child. You know you're a blessing to me. You know you are such a blessing to me and I am grateful. I'm grateful for you. I am excited for you and I know you will do great things. And let them go. You see those words? You're building something in them. You're building. It will be difficult for someone to tear what you have built up consistently down. Very, very difficult. if you have self-esteem issues and you say something like, which hair? Hair that I made 100 naira. It still made you feel good, right? And you hear in my line of work, you hear couples have problems, and the wife is asked to articulate what her grouse with her husband is, and she says something like, he doesn't compliment me, and the husband is wondering, you that I bought car for, hello, car is on one side, compliment is on the other side. There is a need. Virginity and all of that too much. If you balance it with good values and their self-esteem, her self-esteem is intact, there's a limit to what a guy can tell her. That's why fathers are told to take their daughters on dates, to make them feel warm, to make them feel loved, so that one guy doesn't just come and say something and then and then all hell breaks loose. So meet that need, meet that attention need, feel the attention back. When your child does something right, say something about it. Don't casualize it. It's not normal for your child to behave well. Don't take it for granted. Their things together, organizes their desk or their room or their shoes are in order, say something. Some children need these comments. My son, for instance, would do his homework and maybe he has 10 questions and he would do 1 to 3 and come out of the study to come and tell me that he has done 1 to 3. And I am wondering, am I supposed to jump? I won't say it out loud, but I'm like, out of 10 you did 3. But because of his personality type, my husband and I were discussing this yesterday. Because of his personality type, those steps he needs to have his effort recognized. Is repeated. That's one thing about behavior. Whatever you pay attention to, if your child knows that the only way they get your attention is when they break something, sorry, sorry, they will break a lot of things. Because remember, attention is a legitimate need in the human being. So when they are sitting quietly and not breaking anything, well done, child. I see that nothing is broken today. Excellent work. The child realizes, oh, comes down, the positive comes up, the negative comes down. So let us praise it, let us encourage it, let us hail that behavior, make a big deal out of it. Make a big deal out of it. Hello sis, welcome. Make a big deal out of it so that the child would know that, okay, you're noticing this, and the only time they get a rise, the time they get a rise out of you is not only for negative behavior. in one area or the other. They've had to manage their time. They've had to make an effort to learn a particular skill, right? This is what discipline involves. The core of discipline is not punishment, is not pain. No, that's not what it is. It is about teaching and instruction. And to be able to correctly teach and instruct, you have to know the person you're teaching. So for instance, if your child is a child who learns visually, if you are teaching that child with I said you would need to go to the thinking corner. And this young man, very sound logic, okay, said, no, I already said sorry. Why should I serve punishment? He was 3. And I said, oh, you will have to serve punishment. You have said sorry for what you did to your brother. But for disobeying a consistent instruction, there has to be some form of punishment. So you have to contemplate that behavior. I use contemplate for them a lot, whether they understand it or not. But eventually, because I've learned early that shouting doesn't yield results. Shouting only teaches children it is okay to shout. That is all it does. Spanking teaches children it is okay to beat other people. The person with the stronger arm, the person who is stronger, wins when you hit. That's what hitting does. It doesn't correct behavior. I have learned that for a long. If it corrected behavior, a lot of people will not have scars on their body because they did the same thing, and some of them have scars that door. And I didn't say anything, so I went to the kitchen, and then he came to me and said, Mommy, what are you going to do with all those things? And I said, I'm giving them away. And he said, Mommy, why are you giving them away? I said, well, I've asked you to do something because of something that you did, and I see that gets their attention before we communicated that instruction. A lot of factors, but let's extend grace to them. They are not deliberately trying to incite us. They are not deliberately trying to be defiant. Sometimes they didn't even hear. Sometimes they forget. And if you forget, when you remove, which will be a negative reinforcement. What you remove would make them react. What will get them upset, or sorry, not upset, but when you remove that particular thing, they would come back to where you want them to be. At the end of the day, the goal is a change in behavior. That's the goal. It's not for pain. You have no benefit when your child cries. Everybody undergoes it. Everybody has a period where they do things that they don't want to do, and that is part of discipline. So you are telling your child, okay, you have to do this now. Level voice. Remember, level voice. You don't want to raise your voice, because who is in control? You or the child? You have to, on level voice, no raising of your voice, because your child has to be able to hear you and understand you without you raising your voice. You don't want to train your child on a high pitch, because until you shout, they will not hear. That is the danger of that. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to say, okay, I see where you're coming from. You It is knowledge, it is understanding that child to know that, okay, this is the positive reinforcement I need to deploy at this point in time to get this child to comply. Eventually, this child will not even need you to explain those things. They would come to that realization by themselves. You're training them. You're training them to think. You're training them to connect dots, right? You're training them to be able to come to make decisions. So you're giving them options. Okay, so you want to watch TV now. If you watch TV now, you watch for 30 minutes. This is something I like to do. You watch for 30 minutes. But if you finish your work, you can watch for an hour. Guess what? Which one would the child pick if it was you? And you like Paw Patrol, PJ Masks? You will pick the longer time. So you're helping this child to develop the capacity to make choices. Because we want when you're not there, when you don't have someone to tell them what to do, then they won't know what to do. But when you give them options, when you teach them to negotiate, and you ask them, okay, if you pick this, this is what you get. If you pick this, this is what you get. No matter the age.